Diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, says he's being asked to stay out of the classrooms and off campus because of his condition.
Students at the University of Southern Indiana started an online petition against campus policies after a fellow classmate was asked to leave campus due to symptoms caused by Tourette syndrome.
He says the university knew about the extent of his condition, but after complaints to public safety, he's been told to move off campus.
According to him, reports of, quote, profane vocabulary in inappropriate situations prompted university leaders to ask him to learn online.
Let's discuss this, all right? My name is Luca, and I started this channel because I wanted to provide more insight into what it's like to live with Tourette's. And I wanted to do this because this disorder is still so misunderstood. And I just wanted to be type of an advocate to talk for and to our community. So when I came across this news article, this news story, I knew I had to talk about it because, spoiler alert, this isn't all right, this isn't good, and we need to speak up. And I urge you to speak up as well by sharing this story, by signing the petition that will be the first link in the description box below. We have to do something about this. So, what happened? It's all about a student of the University of South Indiana. His name is Seth Pressler, and he has Tourette's. And because of his Tourette's, he is now no longer allowed to go to campus. In order to explain exactly what happened, I'm going to use some articles and videos that I found about this topic, and we'll just discuss everything as we go along, right? Okay, so the first one. It's the first one that I actually came across. That was many rallied to allow USI students to return to campus, say USI not being inclusive. There are 7,000 signatures and counting for a petition asking the University of Southern Indiana to reinstate a student who was reportedly asked to leave. The petition says USI freshman Seth Pressler was removed from campus due to the effects of his nervous system disorder. It's neurological disorder, but you know, that's just a detail. Tourette syndrome. The disorder causes uncontrollable repetitive movements or unwanted sounds. Now, this is an important part, okay? Uncontrollable and unwanted, okay? According to the petition, Pressler suffers from a severe case of Tourette's that causes him to shout profane things at times. It's good that they say that this is like an extreme case of Tourette's. It's not as common as people think that you curse or shout profane things. Coprolalia, which is the official term for cursing tics, only happens in about 15% of all people with Tourette's, but it does happen, and it's still a tic, so it's still uncontrollable and unwanted. It's a disorder. Let's keep that in mind. Now, the USI declined to comment on the situation. They did later on, so we'll get into that later. Students upset by the decision say the university is showing an unwillingness to be inclusive, and many have taken to social media to speak out. Pressler's friend Julia Ennis, a senior at USI, started the petition. I had never interacted with anyone who had Tourette's before Seth, Ennis said. But he is far more than his Tourette's, and he deserves for people to speak up for him and fight against this decision that was made. And then I think this was an important bit, right? She said every time she's seen Pressler enter a space with other people, he introduced himself and explained his Tourette's makes him say inappropriate things. He does that so they know that it isn't offensive towards them. He's not attempting to harm them, and after a tic would immediately apologize, Anna said. At times, especially off campus and around strangers, she said she's seen people react angrily towards Pressler. Pressler said said what she'd been told about his dismissal is that students reported to USI's public safety things they heard him shout while walking around campus that they found alarming. Now, I find this very typical, that even though he explains that he has Tourette's and that he is not dangerous, that he doesn't mean the things he said, apparently he used to shout, "I have a gun" on campus. Now, I'm not from America, obviously, so I don't have that experience surrounding gun violence in schools, but he explains it's a tic. And still, he is the one getting dismissed from school because other people didn't feel safe. What about his safety? He has a neurological disorder and he explains this. Now it goes on a bit more about how he was a really cool person and that they feel really sad that he couldn't come to school anymore, and some extra statements from the USI officials that we will get into later on, because they made a video and I think that says a lot more than just this one sentence. They repeat some of these things. Of course, all the articles are linked in the description box below, some extra ones as well. Some of these you cannot access from a European website because of their privacy policies, but if you use a VPN, of course, you can access those. And then the same website made another article a couple of days later, which was titled, "A student with Tourette's was removed from USI. The debate if he should return continued." That was the moment I felt like, wow, even after media attention, after other students protesting, starting a petition, they still did not understand that this was probably a mistake. And in this article, they do go into some more of these things that happened. So let's just read those. So that starts here. On social media, several USI students said that they reported Pressler to campus officials after he shouted slurs, including the N-word, on multiple occasions. The university won't say why he was asked to leave campus. Savannah Freeman told the Korean press Pressler called her an N-word, V-word. She said she heard from fellow students about Pressler's use of the N-word since the beginning of the school year. She said that regardless of intent, it caused harm. Well, it didn't have intent. This reminds me again, I think I talked about this one before, when Sweet Anita was, cancelled because she was triggered to have an N-word tick on stream. And then when she actually had that tick, people pretty much wanted to cancel her. But the difference there is those people were young and stupid, right? This is supposed to be an academic environment that should know better, that claims to be inclusive, and then says stuff like, regardless of intent, it caused harm. Ticks are not the thing. I made a video about myths about Tourette's. It's not that people with Tourette's tick things that they were secretly thinking or anything. I don't know what they were thinking. I honestly don't know. I'm just getting really angry about this. Okay, then there's a part about the petition, in which the friend that started the petition explains that the extremity of Seth's Tourette's means that he may shout profane vocabulary and in inappropriate situations. Again, this is uncontrollable and it's not personal. And they should know that. While Freeman said it's not clear what made the school remove Pressler from campus, Freeman said she and others believe the tipping point was an incident where he shouted he had a gun on campus. I understand that that's scary if someone does that, but if you are already aware that someone has Tourette's, you know that they have Tourette's, and you could do so much more to raise awareness about that. I mean, this could be a teaching, it's an academic situation. You could teach people about Tourette's. There are people with Tourette's, when they go to an airport, they shout that they have a bomb. It's not that they can't fly. Usually, in most situations, when you explain, I have Tourette's, stuff is fine. If that's okay, then why can't... It's horrible. And the point, it's not that, I mean, I've seen some some arguments that maybe he should have told university, but apparently they knew. So they knew he had Tourette's. So it's insane that they would then be like, oh, it's okay, we understand some of the tics, but you can't do this. Like, this goes too far. Like, you can control that disorder. And even worse, the moment you say you can definitely not do that tic, that's the tic that's probably going to be the worst. Like a coughing tic during a pandemic. And then there's some really good information about Tourette's, so, you know, it's a good read. Then there's another encounter. It sounds horrible. It's like, oh my God. When I had my first encounter with him, I was walking into the community center store and he was sitting at the front door. And I walked in behind two ladies with my friend. As soon as he saw us, he blurted out the N-word. When we left, he said it again. He didn't seem apologetic at all. I was shocked. You don't have to... Okay, this is hot take. You shouldn't have to apologize for your tics all the time. Usually it's a good idea because it makes people feel a bit more comfortable, but you shouldn't have to apologize for your neurological disorder. He was in a community center store, probably just minding his own business, and I understand that at that moment it might have been like, wow, why is that guy doing that? But then if after that you learn this person has Tourette's, then that should be the end of it. Honestly, that should be it. And then I think people from that university, the officials, the teachers, should have, if there was a group of students that didn't understand, teach them, make them understand, because you're trying to prepare them for an academic, professional life. How are you going to do that if you're not going to include neurodiverse people in that? They might encounter other people with Tourette's in their later life. You can't just remove people with Tourette's from the public space just because that's easy in this moment. I think it's a ridiculous decision. Here again, if it was any other word, it would be different, but people know the power of the N-word. That's the reason it's that tic, because it has so much power, because you don't want to say it. That's why it's a tic. You can't, oh no. And it's like the more you put pressure, the more you put attention on that one thing. You cannot say that one thing. The worse it's only going to get. And then she said it's degrading. I think it's really degrading towards people with Tourette, towards neurodiverse people, to pretend like there is some sort of a moral, ethical background to a tic, and that there's some type of intent. No matter which intent, there is no intent. It's a disorder. Something goes wrong in the brain. Oh no. Okay. Of course, okay, then the hardest part is the lack of sympathy other students have shown her, and other black students when they speak out about the hurt it causes. That is wrong as well. I mean, you should be able to discuss how this hurts someone, but talk to them. I think that if they would understand better what Tourette's is and how it works, they would not have to experience such hurt. And they will understand that this is such a hard thing. I understand that these words hurt. I understand that, honestly. But that doesn't excuse removing people with a certain disorder from public life. I think it's as easy as that. And then so apparently loads of people have reported him. Some other female students have reported Pressler for calling them not so very nice things. I think that at that moment, when this starts to happen, when people start reporting a student, this should be an opportunity for universities to start this conversation and not just remove the issue. To be offended by a neurological disorder in itself is offensive. And I think it's important that people understand that. A university should not be taking these types of measures to appease one group of people and then suppress another group. Then there's someone who explains something more about Tourette's. It's usually not personally directed. It's not usually. It's a trigger kind of thing, and then they shout it out, but usually feel mortified afterwards and will apologize if they have a chance. She said living with Tourette's can cause a lot of difficulties, all mainly due to the social consequences of their tics. Yeah, really, getting removed from university. Even though you're fully capable and you explain and you're a kind person, oh, I hate this so much. Now there's some more about treatments like medications and therapy that it is possible to learn during behavior therapy to, if you have a very offensive word that you're taking, to change it into a less offensive word. I do that, but I know that that's not always possible for everyone. So I don't know if that was the intent of this article, but it kind of feels like they are saying, oh, he should have just tried harder, gone to a doctor, when probably he has, and being new at university was probably very stressful, and he wanted to do stuff right, and because of that, his tics got worse. And because of all the pressure that was put on him, this is my interpretation, but it makes so much sense, it only got worse. And if people would have just taken the time to listen and to educate, I think this whole thing did not have to happen. Honestly, you can't remove us from public life just because it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for us as well. We live with this 24/7. We don't want to say things that hurt people, but sometimes we do. And we can't help it. It's our brain that does something weird sometimes. And you don't want to kick someone off campus for doing something they can't help when they could educate the whole college community. That's exactly what I meant. And it will make everything better. But you also don't want to have someone taking advantage of the disorder to abuse their fellow student. I don't know if anyone would do that. If that's what happened, then that's horrible. But I'm surprised that then so many other of his classmates and people from the university were speaking up and starting a petition. Why would they do that? They would have known, right? Why would they put their name on something if they felt like he was abusing his Tourette's or abusing his tics, which is very rare, especially when you're just starting a new university that probably you work very hard for to get into, and you already have a disorder. Why pretend to make it worse just to be a bit edgy? That sounds like a very strange thing to do, and it's in most cases very unlikely. No, I don't buy that. If that happened, of course that's a very shitty thing to do, but they should have done a better investigation, I think. Very clearly, yeah. USI former professor Timothy Smith has Tourette's himself. He said the situation, while complicated, needs to be addressed differently. Imagine having worked there and then having another teacher, of having another student expelled or, not being allowed to be on campus anymore because of Tourette's. I think that'd be a smack in the face. And then USI is yet to say if they will reverse their decision. Okay, so wow, okay. I think most of it is already explained. So the president of the university has since published a video addressing the outcry and the petition, and we're gonna look at it now. It's something. It doesn't really do a lot of good, honestly. But we'll discuss it afterwards. Let's look at his response now.
Hello, everyone. I hope this message finds you well as we continue to navigate this fall semester. You need to know that I am always proud to be your president, but I'm extremely proud of the outpouring of love and support I have seen for a member of our USI community. Just by the number of signatures and responses to a recent petition, even with the limited information it provides, I know some within our community feel a sense of unfairness. And for that, I say, I am sorry. But I also want you to know that I am proud for your willingness to speak up. This is what a culture of care should do, especially at home, especially at USI. I also want to thank you for your advocacy. However, there are important student privacy laws which prevent me from openly discussing a specific or individual circumstances, such as this petition. I need everyone to know that I am not hiding behind FERPA or HIPAA laws, but rather I stand in support of the protections they provide for each and every student at our university. I know that many of you across campus who know me, know my tenure at this institution, know that discernment and objectivity have and will continue to guide my decision-making, and that of my colleagues. Our very existence as a university centers around the supporting of all students and working diligently to meet them where they are. I also know that this is a very difficult situation for all involved. I recognize that. This is why I come to you with sincerity to say that providing a culture of care also means that tough decisions sometimes must be made for the good of an individual and for the good of the whole. Please know that it is the policy of USI to be in full compliance with all federal and state non-discrimination and equal opportunity laws, orders, and regulations. For me, these are not just words, though. We take this language seriously and work to protect the rights of all individuals across our entire university campus. My academic research, my teaching, my time on this earth as a human being have taught me that diversity, inclusion, and fairness are non-negotiable and unwavering, and they are central to who I am and who I will always be. So I just want to thank you all again for your care and your concern for a fellow student. It is care and concern that drive our university in making decisions, even if they seem unfair in this moment. It is you that gives me hope and optimism for our collective future. I thank you all for listening to me. I thank you for giving me a chance to provide you with this message. Stay safe, stay healthy, take great care.
Now, I got some serious umbrage vibes from this whole progress for the sake of progress cannot be, I don't know, I'll put in the meme below. But that was a whole lot of nothing, I think. And it doesn't make me optimistic that something good is going to come from this. And it makes me really sad. And so, what do you all think? Leave a comment. Let's have a discussion about this. Please share his story. Please sign the petition, again linked below as well. Next week I'll be back with another video about Tourette's or ADHD or trans stuff. So, you know, if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing. If this situation progresses any further, I'll do a follow-up on this, of course. I think it's really important to speak up about stuff like this. I understand that it's not easy. It's not black or white. It's a difficult situation. But like I said, just removing someone from the public because this neurological disorder is difficult to deal with should not be the solution. It's not good. It could have been such an such a good source for education and for bringing people together. I hope you all are well, and I'll just leave you with some words from Seth himself. Have a great day. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Offensive things that, as a good as like a person who tries to be kind, that I would never want to say, and then my Tourette's, makes me say things that I would never want to say. It was a tick where I'd be like, a gun, or I have a gun, and sometimes it wouldn't happen constantly. It would happen, maybe a few times a day in random places. But I would always explain to everybody in the room, like, oh, sorry, I legit got Tourette's, no offense meant. I'm grateful, very grateful, and I feel very supported and loved and blessed.